kind of feel like in a comedy club. I want to go, hello, Manchester! Hi, everyone. My name is Natasha Sayce, Zelem, the most unpronounceable name in tech. And I am here to talk about anything but fluffy. So as the day job, I'm one of the heads of technology at Sky in Leeds. I helped found the Sky at Leeds doc with a number of other heads of tech. A really, really interesting challenge. And then I'm really, really excited to talk to you about this today. So everyone's had a bit of lunch, bit sleepy. I want a bit of audience participation. So since it's 20 years old this year, I had to use this slide. If you don't know the film, it's from a film called Office Space. Hands up if you've seen it. Yeah, if you've not seen it, it's incredible. So hands up if you have left a job due to a bad manager. Right. Okay. Hands up if you have heard that soft skills are a nice to have. Unless some of you might be lying. But so since we're here at a delivery conference, my background is delivery. I have worked at the BBC, delivering things at BBC Sport. So I delivered the biggest BBC Sport refresh in over 9 years, turning it into the lovely yellow website that it is today. Worked on things like the London 2012 Olympics, all the way through to Sky, managing teams, launching some of the biggest products like Sky Q and Sky Mobile Phones, launching a brand new mobile phone network in less than 2 years. So I know, hopefully, a little bit about delivery. And I wanted to talk about hard and soft skills. So we know, hopefully, what the difference are. Hard skills are things that can be taught and measured, things like maths and science. And soft skills are these skills which aren't as tangible. They're really hard to pin down. And I think that in the tech industry especially, but I think in delivery as a whole, we do not give them the credit they need. We are an industry in delivery of working with people. And when we focus so much on hiring people with soft skills, it creates a huge issue as effectively a discipline of how we work with others. So I want to say to you that I want to ban the word soft skills because I don't think there's anything soft about them. I think they're actually hard. They take a whole lifetime to learn. And I think that's the wrong word. Soft skills implies that it's weak, it's fluffy, it's easy. And I think that the right word to call them is human skills because that's what they are. They are human skills. Or actually to call them what I think they really are, critical business skills. And it's really frustrating for me that they are seen as a nice to have. So let's have a look at what we're calling these nice to have, fluffy skills. You know, things like attitude, creative thinking, influencing and negotiation skills, emotional intelligence, empathy. A lot of people now say that empathy is the key to innovation. Empathizing with a problem and coming up with a solution is how we get the greatest innovations. You know, empathizing with the fact that it's really frustrating to have to pull a bag out of a Hoover, you know, to Dyson, to it's really annoying having to stop at a cash machine, to pay for your taxi to realize the cash machine is broken, then you're having to pay for the taxi driver to find another cash machine, or that might just be me. And I'm such a taxi queen, sorry. My husband's up there with my 4-month-old daughter. I'm on maternity leave at the moment. Mic drop. So if you hear some cooing up there, that's my husband, not my daughter. But these aren't easy skills to learn. And you spend your whole lifetimes honing in on these things and honing in on different techniques to use. Problem solving, it comes with time, it comes with experience. And so it seems like such a disservice as an industry that we focus on hard skills and the soft skills we just bolt on afterwards. And for me, as a leader, and I have 120 people in my team in Sky and Leeds, a lot of the time when people ask for a promotion, they expect a promotion due to loyalty. I've been at the company for 3 years, I deserve a promotion. I've been at the company for 5 years, I've done everything that you need, I want a promotion. And some of that I'll talk about later as other themes, but I can categorically say that a lack of focus on your human skills is absolutely hindering you from progressing further in your career. There's no bones about it. If you say, look, I do not want to public speak, that is fine. I will talk to you a bit about fixed mindset and growth mindset later, but I can categorically say that if you are a leader, if that's a manager or an engineering manager, a delivery manager, a program manager, you will have to do public speaking, whether it is to your team, whether it's representing your company, whether, I have to stand in front of all of the people at Sky Leads every year to 650 people. And, it is brown pants moments at times, but you have to do it. You have to have these skills. If you want to be a manager, then you have to think about your motivational skills, your coaching skills, your communication skills. If you don't, you're not going to progress, and that's one of the reasons you're probably not progressing. I can tell you how many people ask me to go on agile training, to go on BA training, and I very rarely get asked from people to do training in soft skills, in human skills. So think about looking at training for influence and negotiation skills, for public speaking, for better communication methods, because those are the skills that will let you progress in your career, but also make you a more valued team member. We're in an industry where there are so many introverts, and learning different techniques about how you communicate is crucial. I'm a raging extrovert, and so some of these skills come a little bit easier to me perhaps, but we work with introverts, so as extroverts, some of the training you can do is actually how to better interact with introverts. Has anybody heard of Quiet by Susan Calm? It's brilliant, right? Yeah. I would tell you, read it. If you're an introvert, it will change your life. I was speaking to some people just before this break about how much it made a difference to them, that somebody finally got what they were on about. But as an extrovert, it's so sobering. Introvert or extrovert reading it? Extrovert. Introvert. And I think it opens your eyes, right, to ways that you communicate. So a good example is just basic communication techniques. One of the things, a technique that I use a lot, is when I'm in a meeting with about 12 or 13 of my line reports. The extroverts are great at obviously chiming in on the discussions of the day, what needs to be done. And one of the things I'll do before I leave the meeting is twig who hasn't spoken yet. And before I go, I'll go, right, you've not spoken yet. I really value your opinion. Now, before we go, before we all leave this, I'd love to hear your thoughts about what we've talked about today. And it is just little techniques like that which can make a workplace more inclusive, make people feel like they are being heard. Because we assume that people will follow the communication technique that we're familiar with. So, this is a bit stereotypical, but if you ask an extrovert a question, if you ask me a question, I'm typically like, that's great, that's a really good question, and I'll use tics whilst I'm thinking because I don't like the silence. So you'll kind of hear me going, and I'll be doing something with my hands, but I'll be making noises, and it's a bit weird to say I make noises, but I do. And when you ask an extrovert, potentially, and this is again stereotypically, a question, because they need the time to think. They're not going to, and this is not everyone, this is stereotypical. And for an extrovert, that's like, come on, just give me an answer. But for an introvert, they need that space. And I think that things like Quiet by Susan Calm comes up with some really good techniques for introverts to kind of cope in that mindset. But my point being, as delivery people in this room, be mindful of your communication technique. If you are introverted, if you want some more time, it's totally acceptable to say, that's a great question, can you give me till the afternoon to give you an answer? Set some parameters, and that's a good coping mechanism, but as delivery people, be very careful when you're kind of like I need an estimate. Because I used to be that person, and it's a really horrible feeling when you're on the other side of it and under pressure. So it's not just me. Ooh.
Surprisingly, there continues to be an imbalance with regard to software engineers, but somewhat surprisingly, some people may not realize interpersonal skills is where we're seeing the biggest imbalance. Communications is the #1 skills gap across those major cities in the United States. So jobs like account executive, sales development, project management. It's interesting, Elon Musk recently was commenting on the need to potentially scale back some of the automation work taking place for Tesla. And he said it turns out human beings were somewhat underrated.
So, I'm always underrated, okay? But this isn't just me saying this. That's the CEO of LinkedIn. And I think I can talk from the technology industry that we genuinely focus on hard skills. And we've let the ball drop on those soft skills and making sure that people have the right human skills. We are a team organization. When you're delivering projects, you work as a team. So making sure that all of you have that maturity to work together, to be flexible in your thinking. You know, you've all probably been in a situation where you've had a manager who is completely inflexible. You've had a manager who's probably bitten your head off under stress. And you don't want to work in that situation. So being attuned when you become a manager to giving people the skills to cope is crucial. And we picked up on managers. And my philosophy is that people leave bad managers. They don't leave bad companies. It's rare, really. Sorry, that's my baby. Or it could be my husband. And that's the key thing. One of the biggest decisions you make as a leader is who you put in management, specifically in people management. How many of your hands went up about the issue? And I'm not going to put them out, but I was speaking to people in the break about specifically this, going, I've got a really lovely manager. She's lovely, but she's not pushing me. I feel like I'm meeting the hurdles of where I am to move to my next step of my career, but I'm not getting the opportunity to move up. And I think that when you are putting people into line management, you have to really consider working on their human skills, because a bad manager will push your talented staff away. They will not motivate them. They will not get the best out of them. And I think that a great manager will inspire you, will get you giddy to go to work the next day. Not every day, but, some days, right? Will set you goals, will motivate you, will lead by example. Being a manager doesn't mean you're the cleverest person in the room. It usually means you're just incredibly good listener and good with people. So Google spent 5 years on this project called Project Aristotle, searching for the answer to what makes teams perform really well and what makes teams perform poorly. And they found that psychological safety is correlated positively with team success. Now, I know a few of you might be thinking, what is psychological safety? In my mind, it's protecting me from horror films. But psychological safety is defined as the belief that you will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. Seems obvious, right? But how many of you can feel that you've been in a situation where that's happened to you? And it's crap when it does. And I can't stress, it goes back to these human skills. So psychological danger, fear of admitting mistakes, blaming others, less likely to share different views, and then you create this common knowledge effect. That doesn't make good innovation. That doesn't make good teams. That doesn't make you happy going to work. Psychological safety, you're comfortable admitting mistakes. We work in Agile, fail fast, learn from your failures, and these are, it's great, we've learned quickly. Everyone openly shares ideas, and we have better innovation and decision-making. And it's not easy to implement these things. You're always going to potentially come across a hippo, the highest, paid person's opinion in the room, people who, are causing tension. And I'm not going to say that's not going to always happen in business, but if you identify that, you can speak to people's line managers and say, look, could we do some better team management training, looking at communication, looking at empathy. When we do, how many of you, hands up in the air, if you work in an Agile manifesto sort of? Cool. So that's what the retrospective's about. I didn't really like the way that, you spoke to me in that meeting. It doesn't, if you do it properly, the retrospective is about kind of having these comfortable conversations and learning. And learning from failure isn't just learning from failure that, oops, we've launched some code and it's not worked, but it's, we were dead against it and we were speaking badly to each other, we're tired. And that's learning from failure in a communication technique. So use your retrospectives effectively. if you're a Scrum Master, make sure those conversations are happening, because otherwise they just fester in the back and then people start talking behind people's backs and it's not a nice thing. And really focus on a no-blame culture. So at the BBC, what we did is we had a no-blame culture. So if somebody made a mistake, that's cool, that's life, right? We all make mistakes. But we wouldn't really talk about it, but the only thing you'd have to do is you'd have to bake a cake. And none of this, I've just gone to the shops and then roughed it up around the edges to make it look like I've made it myself. No, you had to bake a cake. And I have eaten some truly atrocious cakes in my time, but yet you still eat it. But think about techniques you can do for no blame. And I come from a non-linear background, and I'm proud to say it. I'm really proud that I have a non-linear background. I started out as a music photographer, which is really cool, and I got to know bands like Muse really, really well. So that guitar in that video there, I used to own, and since my husband's upstairs, I can embarrass him. He made me sell that guitar for £500, and I used to kind of joke and go, God, if it would ever turn up on Antiques Roadshow, but no, it turned up on eBay. Sorry, Dave, I'm really sorry. It always gets a good laugh, I'm really sorry. But I did a degree in film and moving image production. And to be honest, working in film and TV is not too dissimilar to working in tech or in any other sort of delivery mechanism. We worked in somewhat sprints. We'd have 2-week sprints of how many scenes we were going to shoot. We'd do budgets. I'd have lots of negotiation skills, working with people. Apply that to kind of working in the glamorous Emmerdale. Yes, I know. Again, it's huge amounts of people because you're working with teams of 40, 50 people every day. It's a lot about grit. You're working really long hours. Stakeholder management, you've got cast, you've got crew, you're under deadlines. But all of these skills were incredibly transferable to what I did today. So admittedly, I had learned to code as well when I was a kid, but all of those skills were transferable to becoming a delivery manager in digital and tech. And I think as an industry, again, focusing on the hard skills thing, we don't focus enough on transferable skills and getting people from other industries to come into our industry, because if you've worked in film and TV, your skills are just as applicable. Okay, you might need to learn about the software delivery lifecycle and maybe some of the intricacies about delivering in software development, but they're really easy to teach. What isn't easy to teach are some of the skills that I'm talking about, like stakeholder management, people skills. So I'd say you're hiring talented people, not a job description. I can assure you that your job description isn't going to do any work. Do not define people for great jobs. Look at defining jobs for great people. Sometimes a CV will come onto your lap and you'll go, God, they don't tick this box, they don't mention the word agile, they don't mention the word JavaScript, and we become a culture of buzzwords. And you have to look beyond that, because the skills, the human skills, the skills that the CEO of LinkedIn, Steve Jobs famously would say that he hired passion, not technical ability. That's what got me into the industry. Somebody gave me a chance, somebody believed in me. I would implore you to think about what opportunity you can give to other people to climb the ladder and get into the industry that you're in. So, since it's International Women's Day tomorrow, this is 2 initiatives that Sky, the company I work for, do. So the Sky Get Into Tech. So it's an absolutely free 3-month coding course for women. So it's no obligation. Since we're in Manchester, BBC do Step Into Tech, which is they've effectively ripped off our idea. But it's really good. And we also launched Women in Tech Scholars. So we offer a £25,000 bursary to 5 women to work on a tech idea that they believe in. So these 3 women got the bursary last year. There's no age limit, just over the age of 18. You get access to mentors, resources to make it happen, and a really nice bursary. So I'm going to kind of end on some stuff that makes a kind of a bit of a personal note for me. So my husband, since he's upstairs and I've already embarrassed him once, I'm going to embarrass him again. My husband works in tech as well. He's a web designer. And he was 9 years at a company, and he was the same level. And I'd be the sort of Yoko Ono kind of going, come on, you need to be climbing the ladder. These shoes don't pay for themselves. And he would constantly say to me, I don't want to climb the ladder because I really enjoy what I do. And I don't have the need to step away from what I do. I really enjoy designing websites. And if I climb the ladder, I'm probably going to be more in meetings and less doing the job that I came in to do. And it really resonated with me after a while. Note that bit at the end. I tried to find a less pious quote than bloody Gandhi. But if you do what you enjoy doing, you never work hard. And my husband is very happy-go-lucky and loves his job. And one of the things that I found was that if you do climb the ladder, climbing the ladder is great. You probably get more money and more responsibility. You probably need more resilience. You give them more responsibility, you probably come across more tension, bigger personalities. But sometimes you step away from the thing that got you into the industry in the first place. So as a head of tech, I have lots of fab remit of looking at the strategy as a department, but the stuff that I loved doing of actually managing projects and starting from ideation all the way to delivering the beast, all the fun and joy and sort of roundabouts of delivering something, I don't get to do that anymore. I pay incredibly talented people to do that. And so I love my job now, but one of the things that I realised at a certain point is I didn't want to climb the ladder any further at the moment. I actually wanted to get off the ladder and go out and actually experience some different things and help others. And so what I found by getting off the ladder is it also helped with growing my growth mindset. So I think, am I right, you guys heard about that this morning? Is that right? Yeah. So that fixed mindset of, I'm not good enough, I can't do this. And growth mindset is very much, well, you know, I'll give this a go. I've learnt from it, right, I'll give this a go. I found that I could really, really harness my growth mindset by doing things outside of work because there was less vulnerability. I think maybe at work you're more scared of your peers at work judging you if you get something wrong. But I think doing something outside of work, if it still goes wrong, that's not great and you learn from it, but it opens up your network as well. So these are some of the things that I've done. I got invited to be on the industry advisory board for the University of Leeds School of Computing. So I help the university with syllabuses and advising them on things that they should be teaching their students. It's really exciting. I work in the industry, so I can tell them all about Agile and that it's not a fad, repeatedly. So I do things like this. I publicly speak. I founded Ladies of Code in Leeds. I was the festival director for the Leeds International Festival for their science and tech events. They asked, and I went, yeah, that sounds really cool, not underestimating how much work I was going to have to do to curate events. I have never curated events like that. I've never approached speakers and begged them to speak at a festival. And I just took a leap, and it's been exhilarating and really fun, and it's helped grow my skills. So I did an event about sex robots, which was really funny because once people found out I was doing an event about sex robots, they kept tagging me on Facebook into stories about sex robots. And my parents then had to have a discussion with me to wonder what on earth was going wrong in our relationship. I tagged 5 people with microchips in their hands. Of that guy there is called Hani Siob, and he works for Singularity University. I learnt that there is an Internet of Things mattress that you can buy, and if your mattress vibrates while you're not in the house, you can find out if your partner's cheating on you. It's a real thing. And it got me thinking. So my friends all got into law because of Ali McBeal. I'm of that age, not that old. And they saw this role model who danced with a weird imaginary baby, which was really weird. But they saw, warts and all, what she did for a living. And it really got me thinking about how I could get more females into the tech industry, because it is an industry which is only 17% female. So I was looking at some of the statistics, and this is 2016, but the stat is exactly the same now, unfortunately. If you look at the computing thing, about 91% of people who sit computing A-level at school are boys. And that statistic hasn't changed in donkey's years. But then if you look at the statistic for performing arts and expressive arts, it's overwhelmingly female. And so there is a really interesting thing about the use of role models and getting more females to consider a career in digital science and tech, but also about showing the creativity that our industry has, because it is creative, it's really fun, it's people-centric. So what I did is I founded Empowering Women with Tech, and effectively, I have never founded anything like this before, and I thought it would be a really good idea because I could see a gap. And I had empathy with the journey I took into the industry. So we elevate, educate, and empower women to get into the industry through role model events, through mentoring, and through training. And so for the first conference we ever did, just to start small, I had 375 people at the conference and a whole day of speakers to curate. And I was scared witless. I cannot stress how scared I was. I was scared approaching Lauren Levin's agent. The lady to the right is Susie Bubble. She's a really amazing fashion blogger. And I wanted to demystify all of the career paths that you can have in tech, that it's not just about coding, because that's what a lot of people think, because that's what they see in IT crowd and in the media. And I learned so much about grit and developing my soft skills and having a growth mentality that I can do this. I also learned a lot about the fact that doing these things outside of work was comfortable for me. It built my network. I got to meet some of the greatest female tech entrepreneurs, tech role models. Oh dear. He's fine, he's got a dummy. But meeting incredible role models wider with the International Festival, building my network, building my personal brand, I would genuinely say it's a really great experience to do. And I would say if you want to try this sort of thing, volunteer for Manchester Digital, for your local digital groups or meetups. Get yourself out there, because it's a really great way to develop your human skills, build new skills that you don't have, expose you to all rafts of different environments that you're not used to, and it's exhilarating. So I'll end with the fact of just taking a bit of a leap of faith, because you don't really know what's around the corner, but in an industry where it's evolving all of the time, having this tool belt of incredible skills that you've kind of harnessed from different sectors, different experiences, will only benefit you in your career, and it makes it such a really, really interesting ride. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Natasha, and thank you for joining us and bringing your child along. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us here. Does anyone have any questions for Natasha? Sorry, it's a little hard to see. All the way up there. Okay.
Hi.
You said that we all need to work towards, if we're being promoted to line management, etc., we need to work on human skills.
Yes.
Which I completely agree with.
Yeah.
How do we tackle the fact that, with respect, older generations aren't quite so keen on soft skills? I work for a number of people who can't distinguish between being a boss and being nice to people and being a person, and understanding that people have well-being issues or just are having a bad day. How do we tackle that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Do you work in tech?
I work in advertising now, but I have worked in tech.
Okay, so it's a really good question, and it's genuinely the same question I was asked twice in the lunch break to answer. So my ballsy answer is there are more jobs than people right now in the industries that we work in, and if they don't fix it, walk and find a better company that fits. That would be my ballsy answer, and I have done that. My more pragmatic answer is there's usually surveys or kind of like sort of feedback forums. Be honest in those, because I think there's a very British etiquette of kind of going, God, everything's really rubbish. Yes, on the survey, everything's fine, I'm really good, yeah. Be really honest to the manager, and it's hard. I cannot stress how hard that situation is, and you think it's career limiting. But if it is limiting your career, going to work and not feeling like you're getting anywhere and feeling like you're walking on eggshells, then what have you got to lose by being honest and going, look, I don't think your communication style is resonating. Doing it as a group as well sometimes can help, of kind of going, look, we all feel this way, so it's not just you, and because it can be sometimes construed. Another technique that I definitely did it as a team thing. So invited said boss along to a kind of a team empathy workshop where he was part of that, and then we had to do some kind of role model situations which I'd kind of planted with the instructor so that we could imitate some of the techniques he used with us, communication techniques. And it's really interesting when the shoe is on the other foot, when he witnessed for the first time how we feel when he would effectively be very blunt and speaking to us. So those are kind of little coping techniques. But if you've kind of exhausted all of that, I would genuinely say walk, because, I mean, I can only talk for the tech industry. Most of us in the tech industry, you can quit your job and within 4 to 6 weeks find another job which is better paid. So loyalty and creating a great work environment with fun, challenging objectives, but fun opportunities is crucial. So that's what I work hard with as a manager now, to make sure that my team are happy and that I listen to what they're saying.
Should we take one? Let's do one more question, if there is one.
Oh, up there. Hey.
When you're looking to get to bring out those soft skills in people, especially when you're hiring for new people,
Yes.
and trying to avoid just having their CV that they've written, probably trying to big up their hard skills because they feel like that's what they have to do. But you want to pull out the soft skills and you haven't yet met that person. How can you improve finding those soft skills when people aren't necessarily showing them yet?
That's a really, really good question. So the way I would have answered it normally is kind of say, look, if you're looking for a job where you're transferable skills, go to the company's meetup and meet people, because nearly, I would say 3 or 4 people I've met at meetups for Sky, I've ended up hiring because I've spent time with them and I've realised that, speaking to them, they've got their head screwed on and they've, got loads that they could bring to the business. When they've focused so much on hard skills in their CV, I think you've got to question how your job descriptions are written, because usually a good person will tailor their CV to the job description that you're presenting to them. If not, you should seriously do that, and genuinely look at the wording and all that. But if you have a job description that's predominantly focusing on hard skills, then people will give you what you're asking for. If you're asking people to go, look, I want on your CV to show me kind of examples of this, then people will do that more. But also think about your interviews. A great technique is, can you explain a time when you have, faced adversity? And it doesn't have to be at work, it could be in your personal life and how you've dealt with it. And so open-ended questions is a really lovely way of getting people to communicate and show you, their problem-solving skills, their flexibility, their empathy, their emotional intelligence, and, resonating with you. So job description, meet people at the events and see past the CV. But also, if you've got the opportunity to try and meet as many people.
Thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.